Guitar Academy here. Welcome to this video, and we're going to be learning 3 different ways to take this horrible F major bar chord and make it totally playable quickly. Okay, so by the end of this video, you'll be able to come away with 1, 2, or even 3 of these that you really like and you can use in your playing straight away. We're of course going to apply that theory to the track that you just heard as well. So you've got an actual backing track to play along to and practice these ideas. Now, what I want to say quickly is that the bar chords are well worth learning. Okay, so don't totally skip out on learning bar chords, but I have seen it so many times when I'm sitting in front of students and it can take months and months and you can see that motivation drop and they start to really lose the interest for kind of progressing on the guitar because these can be so hard, okay? And that is exactly what we don't want to happen. That's why I've come up with these ways to play the bar chord so you don't really need to play the bar chord. Something you guys need to remember is that a bar chord like that, so an F major bar chord, okay, where you're basically playing 6 strings, 6 different notes, okay? But in F major, there's only 3 notes. You've got your root, your third, and your fifth. Okay, it's kind of like when you play a bar chord, imagine a keyboard player picking up a keyboard and playing an F, okay? Rather than just 3 fingers, if they played it like this bar chord, they'd be spanning 2 or 3 octaves across the keyboard doing just an unnecessary amount of the same notes, okay? So in this chord, we've got the root, we've got the fifth, we've got the root again, the third, the fifth again, and the root again, okay? So too many notes, we don't need all those notes. So this is not a trick what I'm about to show you. It's actually probably a better way to play these chords in the long run. And certainly as you advance as a guitar player, you'll be playing these chords more than you will those bar chord shapes. Okay, so don't forget guys, just before we carry on, that you can head on over to the website. You'll see a full write-up for the lesson and you'll be able to get the track. So the track that we're going to be working on, including a backing track version, a track that's got less of the kind of layers, so just the acoustic guitar so you can really hear it, which is going to allow you to really master the ideas that we're talking about in this video. So the first way, and we're dividing basically this 6-string chord into 3 mini versions, okay? And the first thing I want to go through is this one. Okay, and this is something called a triad, okay, and what that basically means is it's the 3 notes of the chord and only the 3 notes of the chord, okay? So we've got the root, the major third, and the fifth, which is the 3 notes you need to construct any major chord of F, and therefore we have an F major chord. So rather than this big old chunk here, we're just picking 3 notes out of that and just playing those 3 strings. So just to kind of go through this, I've got my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the D string. That's my F note, that's my root. I've got my 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. That's my major third, okay, which in this case is an A. And then I've got my 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B string, which is my 5th, which in this case is a C. So F, A, and C. Okay, so that's a really, really cool, useful shape, okay? Especially when you're just doing finger picking with your right hand. So not strumming, you know, full 6 strings, you know, you're doing finger picking. And you can really work with that in all kinds of contexts. And as you advance, like I said, and you can get your thumb over the top a bit more, that actually becomes a super, super useful, and probably the chord I use most often instead of the actual bar chord shape. Okay, so just like that. Now that's really cool, and one little addition to that, if you want to, if you can flatten that 1st finger there, and you can get a mini bar, if you find that relatively comfortable, then work on that as well, because then you've got the high E string as well. So I'm just flattening that across there. If you want to, okay, that's an extra option. Like I said, this is definitely enough, and quite naturally you'll block the high E string, if you hear that. That's me blocking the high E string. If you just, you know, casually wrap the thumb around, you'll be blocking the low E string. So you've got low E string and high string blocked. And if you, this finger here, this 3rd finger, if you just slightly lean it against the A string, so you can see I'm just leaning it against this string here, okay, I block that one off too. So even though I'm only playing 3 strings, I'm actually blocking the other 3, so I get this. So when I do strum it, I can only hear those 3 strings. So that's one way of working with it. Now the second shape I want to work with is this. Okay, so very, very similar. And this one's, if you're going to be strumming, really, really useful. Probably the most useful of the lot, okay? And this is basically an inversion. And what that means is that we're not starting from the root note, we're starting from the fifth, okay? And that in context is absolutely no problem at all. And actually, as you'll see when we get onto this piece that we're going to learn, it's such an easy change from a C major, for example, to get to that this actually might become your favorite too. So all I'm doing is very similar to the previous triad, but I'm going to keep these two fingers exactly where they were, take my third finger up to the A string and put my little finger underneath on the D string. So I've got the A and the D string covered, and then the other two fingers are doing exactly what they were doing before. Okay? And you'll notice I'm just casually resting my thumb on the low E string. If your thumb doesn't wrap around like that, if you just can't get that wrap around, then just use this third finger to slightly nudge up on that E string to block it off. And you will very, very, very 99% sure, likely, find that the high E string is already blocked off by this first finger, just resting against it. So you get a really nice 4-string chord where your fifth is in the root instead of the root note, okay? And in the context of things, in a musical piece, it will make absolutely no difference. It will still sound fantastic. So that's your second way of playing the F chord instead of doing that. And the third way is kind of similar to the bar chord shape, but we're not worrying about the high strings this time. So this way would be useful if you really just wanted that low sound. So if you're kind of, you know, just really want to chunk on that low sound and you want slightly more than a power chord. All I'm doing, and the way I would try and practice this one, is make an E major chord here, okay? Fiddle that around so that you're using these 3 fingers, leaving your first finger free. So I've got that E major chord, but with my third finger, little finger, and second finger. Okay? So I leave my first finger free. Then just slide that up by a semitone. Okay? We get a little kind of flamenco here. We don't want that, but it sounds good. Slide it up and then pop the first finger just on the low F note. So that first fret of the E string, and don't even think about trying to bar anything more. Just grab that note there. And you'll find you can play all 4 of the low strings. So I'm going down the E string, A string, D string, and G string. And my high strings are just kind of blocked off. Just kind of rest that first finger against it so it's blocked off. And you get a nice shape, a nice chord that sounds really cool, but you don't have to really push down to get those high notes. We're not going to worry about that. Now, like I said, in practice, that's really cool if you want the low sounding strings. You know, that's going to really work for you to do that, because very often you just don't need all 6 strings when you're playing, and I'm going to prove that to you in this song that we're going to look at. The other cool thing about this one is that then you're kind of in the right position. You've got your thumb right at the back, really flat, so it's not like this, it's flat like that. Your wrist is pulled all the way around so that it's nice and solid, you know, you've got a good grip on that. And then if you do want to gradually kind of put the effort in to get that bar chord, you kind of already are familiar with this shape. So just to summarize, we've got the triad, but with the fifth in the low end, so plus an extra note basically. And then we've got the low end bar chord. They're the 3 ways I would divide that chord into a playable setting so that you can actually use this without breaking your wrist to do so. Okay, so let's just take a couple of minutes now to look through the song that we played. So you heard me play through one time round at the start of the video. And obviously it's got a whole bunch of chords, lots of open chords in it, but we're using this F chord now in those 3 different settings that I've just showed you. So let's just start with the intro section, which sounds like this. And you repeat that round 4 times, okay? So really all we're doing here is we're doing that F triad chord. In terms of chords, we're just doing the F triad chord, going up, and we're moving the shape up a whole tone, so 2 frets, and that will make a G chord, okay? And if you're unsure about the theory of that, just remember that this set of notes here is F major, okay? So if I go up by 1, it would be F sharp. If I go up by another, it would be G. If I go up by another, it's G sharp. If I go up by another, it's A. and so on. Okay, so you're just literally, as if you were just moving up the notes, but you're creating major chords as you go up. Okay, so we're literally just going from F, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, and just repeating that. Okay, now I'll talk about the right hand in a second, we'll zoom in on that, but with the left hand there's also this little hammer on. Okay, so you're going to be picking through those notes, so you're literally, I mean we'll zoom in on the right hand in a second, but you're going to be going through, arpeggiating those 3 notes, and on the last one you're going to be hammering on simply that B string, little finger. Okay, when you hammer that on, that's quite a hard little hammer on to do. It's quite a challenge, I would think. I'm going to keep that hammered on. I'm going to slide across. And then I'm going to pull off and come down my G major. Okay, so have a little listen. Okay, so you've got a little hammer on and pull off there to really work with. That's going to really help strengthen up that little finger. Okay, I'll do it one more time before we look at the right hand. Notice how the notes are all ringing together. I never change that shape. You know, I don't do this, as the tab would probably have you believe. It's all based around those 2 chord shapes moving. Okay, so for the right hand, we're just finger picking our way through this. Okay, so as we hold that F, I'm putting my thumb on the D string, my first finger on the G string, and my second finger on the B string. Okay, and what I'm then doing is I'm going D string, G string, B string, then back to the G, and then repeating. So so I'll do that again nice and slowly. So we just got that thumb, first finger, second finger, first finger, thumb, first finger, second finger. Okay. Now when I hit that second finger, I'm then going to do that hammer on we talked about with the left hand. Okay, so hammer that on. And then slide across, so there's no need to actually play anything at that point. Pull off, because again, I'm not playing anything here. And then I'm just going to literally do the first finger on the G string and first finger on the D string as I kind of arpeggiate back through. So just watch that right hand nice and slowly. Okay. Now if you really struggle with that pull off, then you can always just play the notes. So like this. If you prefer, but try the pull off first. Really try and get that together because it adds a little bit of kind of fluidity, I think, to the whole part. Okay, so I'll just do that one more time. We repeat that 4 times round. So I'll do it once here. And you repeat it 4 times. Okay, so section 2, let's just look at the chords from the second section, the B section, you might call it. It sounds like this, so I'll just play the section through. Now you loop that bit twice before going to this. And then you loop that 3 times, okay? So let's just go through the chords. We're starting with a C major chord, and crucially, we're just playing the middle string. So we're not playing the low E or the high E, just the middle strings. And we're gonna look at the right hand in a minute. Let's just get the chords in place. So I've got the C to an F, and I'm going to this second way we were looking at playing the F major chord. So all I have to do from a C is literally add my little finger, okay, and drop the second finger down 1 fret. So there's the C, add the little finger to the D string, and drop the second finger down 1 fret. Everything else stays where it is, and I've got a solid F major chord without having to go like that. Okay, so we got from C to F. So just practice that chord change. Okay, because that's the loop for most of that verse section. Let's call it section B. That's your loop, just between C, F, C, F. Okay. Okay. Now as the chords start to change, we move that whole shape up 2 frets again to play at G. Okay, so it's that same shape, okay, as we did on the F, but moving up to G. Okay. Then down to an A minor chord. Then back to that F again, so a little bit more of a challenging change, but one you can definitely work on. And then back to C. So again, that chord progression is G, A minor, F, C. Now then, in this section, when it comes to the right hand, we're doing a bit more of a kind of acoustic slap technique. You might hear kind of John Mayer do this, or Ed Sheeran, or, well, just numerous players. It's such a great little way to play. Now remember, we're using 4 strings all in all. So I'm going to keep my fingers in the same place the whole way through this. Okay, my thumb, I should say, is on the A string. My first finger's on the D, my second finger's on the G, and my third finger is on the B string. So just first job is just to get all those fingers in like a claw, like that, and just make sure that all 3 strings you can play separately and together, okay? Now once you can do that, the rhythm pattern is this, okay? Now we'll start on the C, because we are on the C to start with here, so, and there's our change. So let's just do it without the actual chord change for the moment. So with the C major just held as the chord, okay? What I do is on the first beat of the bar, I'm gonna pluck all the strings, okay? Then I'm gonna pluck again on the second beat, sorry, on the and then I'm gonna hit the strings like a slap, like this, on the 2, okay? So it sounds like this. 1 E and a 2, 1 E and a 2, 1 E and a 2. Okay, now that slap, there's a couple of ways I'm getting that. I'm doing 2 things at the same time. With my left hand, I'm releasing the tension. I'm not taking it off the strings like that, I'm just releasing the tension. So you can hear there's a certain kind of muted element to that. But more importantly, with my right hand, I'm actually just attacking the actual kind of the hole here. And also just a little bit, I'm just grabbing some of the body of the guitar. But if you just try, all you gotta do is just grab it. Try and keep the hand as the same kind of claw and just attack like that. You should get some kind of sound. So make this not push down with the left hand and just attack it with the right. And you'll get something along those lines. It will take a little bit of time to kind of sink in. Okay. Now after that, we're going to change the chord. So I'm going to go to the F and I'm going to pluck that straight away. Okay, 1 E and a 2 E and 1 E and 1 E and a 2 E and. Okay, and then for the last bit on the 4th beat, so when the snare hits again, I just do that same slap. Okay, so I'm going to do it from the C to the F, and I'm going to do it really slowly. And again. And 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. So just try. That's the pattern all the way through, even when I move into the other chords. So the G, A minor, F to C. It's that same rhythm pattern, okay? And it sounds cool, but it will take a little bit of work to get it right, you know, especially if you've never done much fingerstyle or percussive playing. You know, there's a lot going on there, but really stick with it because it just sounds so much better than just kind of doing, which would be just kind of like strumming through it. I mean, that sounds fine, but I much prefer this. You know, it's got much more of a percussive element to it. Okay, so section 3, the final thing we want to break down is just that last little bit before it goes on the loop, which is this. Okay, So here we're deliberately bringing a low end function. So I deliberately wanted to bring in this kind of movement in the bass. 1, 2, 3. Sorry about the buzzing there. And therefore, you know, we needed to use this different way of playing the F. We're still not playing the full bar chord, just a little version of, okay? So you can see how you can divide it throughout the song to really work for you. So in terms of the chords, we'll look at the right hand in a minute. In terms of the chords, we're doing an E minor, just the 4 strings, so E, A, D, and G string. We're then doing an F major, but again, it's not a bar chord, remember, it's just that E shape with just the low F note, just that. No high B and E string. And then sliding that up to G, top 4 notes. So it's just E minor, F, and G. Okay? And remember, you know, even though you're not trying to get these high notes here, just get that bar, well, the first finger nice and flat as you can get it. Thumb at the back, really flat. Again, not like this, okay? And the wrist all the way around. Okay, so with the right hand for this section, what I'm doing is I'm kind of doing this kind of blend of finger styles here. It's something that I've always kind of worked with. Whenever I do low strings, I typically use the thumb for as many of them as possible. So I'm just going to play through this bit and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so essentially we're arpeggiating through this, and I'm going to use my thumb for actually the E and the A string, and then my first finger for the D and my second finger for the G string, okay? And on the E minor, if we take the E minor first, the pattern is going to be E string, A string, so both with my thumb. Then I'm going to jump up to my G string and then back to the D string. I do exactly the same on our F. And on the G, I just go down really normally. So E string, A string, D string, G string. I'll just go through that again. Now, there's no real rules here with the finger pattern. You might prefer to just do thumb, thumb, first finger, thumb. Thumb, thumb, first finger, thumb, 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 thumb. You know, whatever feels kind of comfortable to you, that's a very specific little part, and you don't need to kind of be as specific with your finger style. You can just do whatever feels comfortable to you at the time. I would suggest though, the only thing I would suggest is no matter what fingers you're using, you do change them. When you go to that G string, you don't use your thumb, you do try and use the first or the second finger. Okay, just so that it's you know, you don't want to be using the thumb, you know, the thumb all the way through that kind of more intricate pattern. It works on this last chord because you just drop it down and that kind of sounds really, really nice. Okay guys, so that's it from me. Final disclaimer is that bar chords are great, okay? It just so happens that this bar chord is ridiculously hard to play when you first get to it, okay? It's a combination of the fact that it's a big shape with all 6 strings and it's right down by the nut, so it's hard to push down on this chord, okay? But as you advance, the bar chords, learning of the bar chords and moving them up and down the neck really help you to understand the neck more as a whole, and especially as you start changing keys and doing other ideas. So hopefully this video has helped, but don't let it put you off bar chords altogether. And if you are interested in bar chords, check out this full course, which I'll put a link in the description. There'll be one in the video as well, because we got a full bar chord course which will help you master those chords across the neck and really take your playing to the next level. Okay guys, hope you've enjoyed it. I'll speak to you again soon.